We started flipping houses 9 years ago, started buying rentals shortly after that, kind of building that up, done I don't even know how many flips now. Construction crews tend to have a little bit different mindset. Yeah, I think your typical contractor is going to be somebody that's trying to sell you that $30,000 kitchen because they're trying to make the most they can. They're trying to sell, the top-notch quality stuff, which is great. But if you're an investor, you're flipping a house or, it's a rental, tenants are going to beat it up. Like, there's no point blowing your money. You're not going to get that back as far as your ROI goes.
So what was your first exposure to real estate and what clicked for you?
I don't know, like even from a young age, I remember watching like the stupid Flip This House and Flip That House TV shows that were coming out in the 90s like crazy. They were fun to watch. They definitely glamorized like this job kind of sucks in a lot of ways. I always kind of like real estate as a whole. Like I remember going on vacation as a kid and grabbed the little shopper outside the gas stations just to see what real estate was selling for in the area, wherever we were in the country. So I don't know, there's always been a little something. I don't know why though, or really where it originated from. I think the biggest draw towards real estate for me, was the idea of getting enough rentals to not have to work a W-2 9 to 5. That was kind of the original appeal for me, and it's just kind of grown and spiraled into a lot more since then.
So why don't you tell us who you are and why you started a construction company?
Why I started a construction company. We started flipping houses 9 years ago, started buying rentals shortly after that, kind of building that up, and we've done I don't even know how many flips now. It's kind of systematized it out. We've realized kind of how to make these jobs run smoothly. We got a great in-house crew. We have a great group of subs that we use on our own projects, so all our people are vetted before we send them out to anybody else's. I guess once I realized how much of a need it was for other investors, it just kind of clicked. Like, all right, if there's that many other investors that need what we're good at, like that's just a recipe for a good business right there.
So how would you say your experience as a flipper actually changes the way that you run a construction crew? Is it just the same or is it different?
No, I think it's different. I think construction crews tend to have a little bit different mindset. Yeah, I think your typical contractor is going to be somebody that's trying to sell you that $30,000 kitchen because they're trying to make the most they can. They're trying to sell, the top-notch quality stuff, which is great. But if you're an investor, you're flipping a house or, it's a rental, tenants are going to beat it up. Like, there's no point blowing your money. You're not going to get that back as far as your ROI goes. So if you want decent return on your money back, you really need to know where you're spending your money. Now there's definitely areas that are worth the money in my book. Like we usually, spend a little bit of extra money on the kitchen. We usually try to do granite in pretty much all the kitchens that we do. Or the bathrooms, we tend to just make everything brand new, even if, something works and it's just old. Just try to update the key areas, paint and floor where you can. I mean, this house we're sitting at now, we could have easily spent another 20 grand on this house and it probably really wouldn't have changed what we ended up selling it for. So you got to kind of know where to cut that off at, and that's where a lot of contractors, they don't understand real estate. So if you understand real estate and kind of where you need to spend and where you need to save, kind of keeping your prices in line with where investors can still make their money, it's got to be a win-win for everybody.
So what would you say most investors or homeowners, like, they just don't understand about managing a construction project?
It's a lot of moving pieces. There's a lot of, contractors you got to get in and out. If you're starting from scratch and you don't have any contractors and you're trying to get 3 quotes for the paint, you're trying to get 3 quotes for the floor, you're trying to get 3 quotes for the siding and 3 quotes for the window, like that becomes overwhelming. And it's very hard to start off and get kind of some of that discounted pricing that you can get if you're doing a lot more houses. I mean, we all know with volume, you can kind of get your pricing down. Like when I started off, I don't think I could have gotten some of the deals that I get today just because I was doing one house, that first year. Probably took me another year to buy that second house. So just not having enough work for these guys, kind of limits the deals that they'll cut with you. So once you kind of build it up, it grows and the deals you can get from your subs kind of grows.
If you could scale BrickTree to any level, what does that actually look like?
I don't know. At the end of the day, I'm just trying to help other people other investors. I guess support my own real estate addiction. So yeah, I like buying houses. I like doing flips. I like buying the rentals, preferably. Like rentals are my favorite. They take a while to actually make some money on. You know, a lot of people got to flip. We've had to flip just to, you know, keep the money rolling. The flips are the right now paychecks, but really what it boils down on the rentals, it's okay, you can't touch that money for at least the next 10 years. You just let it build, let it stack, kind of go from there.
What's the biggest cost mistake you see investors make when hiring contractors?
I mean, probably just not knowing what jobs should cost. That's something that's really hard starting out too when you don't have good big batch of reliable subs you can rely on. So just knowing what things cost, and I don't say that as being like the cheapest guy, because usually the cheapest guy doesn't know what he's doing. And they end up, you know, screwing it up along the way, and you got to get somebody in there to fix what went wrong. So it's not the cheapest guy. It's actually who knows what needs to happen, who understands how to do it right, you know, who can do it for a reasonable amount that, you know, will still let you kind of pull your profit. You got to get it done in a quality way.
What would you say is like your ideal clientele for BrickTree, and who isn't a good fit for BrickTree?
Ideal clientele for BrickTree, I mean, it seems fairly obvious as our client base grows. It's the investors, it's the guys that are flipping houses. Maybe they have a crew or two. They're buying too many houses. Their guys can't keep up. You know, we can come in, help streamline some of that, and at least, you know, whether it's taking over the whole rehab, or sometimes we'll come in and, you know, we'll just handle the paint, floor, trim, and kind of let them get it to that point. It really kind of depends on what their needs are and what their strengths are. And then the other one are the landlords. The landlords are big too. You get a tenant that moves out. If you don't have contractors you're working with constantly, getting a contractor that can come in quickly and can flip a unit for you, you know, that understands, once again, like, you don't need top end material, you don't need the best paint out there, you need a quality paint, you need flooring that's going to last. We tend to use vinyl and everything. That vinyl plank just is the only thing that survives tenants. You'll be painting the walls, but a lot of times you can just clean the floor and move on. So that saves us a lot of money. But yeah, just knowing where to spend the money, where like, why are we using carpet when we know we're going to have to change it in between every tenant? Let's use vinyl plank so it lasts a little longer, and getting those done in, you know, a matter of weeks instead of waiting months to get quick little rehab on a unit done.
What would you say is the hardest lesson flipping has taught you, not only just personally but financially?
How hard it really is. Like, you know, back to the shows, they flip this house, flip that house.
HGTV.
Yeah, HGTV shit. They make it seem so simple. It's not. You know, my first flip, I did all the work myself. I hired out like $200 worth of drywall work, and everything else I did, you know, myself. So that was a huge learning curve. And then from there, like, I just kept doing another flip and another flip, and then a rental and then another flip. My goal with each one was to find at least one new contractor that I wanted to work with moving forward, and just having that mindset as I grow and not trying to hold every penny back, because, you know, you can't do this alone. Like, that's probably the biggest thing flipping has taught me, is you can't do this stuff alone. Like, without a team, you are dead in the water. You're not going to have a life, which, I mean, I didn't have a life for years, but still barely do sometimes.
So can you break down a time where a contractor seriously hurt one of your flips, and, you know, what did you learn from it?
They seriously hurt one of my flips. I mean, really, yeah, but it's to fire them quick. Like, you work with enough contractors, it doesn't take long to realize, hey, this guy doesn't know what he's doing. You got to end it quick, because if you don't, it spirals, and then you spend more money and they end up screwing you and they feel screwed. Like, just end it up front, pay them out something that's fair, and find somebody that can actually do the job. Don't go down the rabbit hole of continuing to do a bad job, because it's just going to compound by the end of the job.
And what would you say is the best way to get a hold of you if, you know, I wanted to do a rehab?
I mean, the best way to get a hold of us, probably reach out to us on, you know, Facebook, TikTok. One of those two is probably, you know, the quickest ways to get a hold of us. You can always give us a call.
So here at Hotop, what did the start of the project look like? You know, what were your initial expenses, and what did you make out of it?
So we ended up going over budget. So all said and done, here we bought the house for about $22,000. We were hoping to be under 110 all in. So that left us about 90 grand to do the budget with. We ended up about 16 grand over budget on this one. A few things that we thought we were going to be able to salvage that once we got into it, we weren't able to. In this one, for 126,000 and some change, and we just accepted an offer for $167,000. So after closing costs, we should profit about $30,000 on this one. So overall, not a bad flip, not a great one, but sometimes the ones you think are going to be huge wins end up not being, and sometimes the ones you think are just going to be a little base hit end up being a triple.
So what separates BrickTree from the guy that's putting his company on a billboard?
One, we do cheap marketing like this. We're not looking to bring on, hundreds of new clients. Like, we're looking to bring on, a handful of investors in Southwest Michigan that need some help on their flips, could use somebody that they can trust that can come in, can handle an entire rehab, or just kind of help you out in the areas that you're kind of weak. As we've grown, we could always point to areas where we're kind of weak in ourselves. Maybe we're not the right customer, the right construction company for, every client. But that's why we're not looking for every client. We're not looking for every homeowner. We're looking for those investors. We're looking for the people that, need people, a contractor that actually understands how real estate works and how you actually make money from it and keep them profitable. Because if they can be profitable and we can help them do it, I would much rather not spend a bunch of money on billboards and just maintain that relationship for the next 20, 30 years as they grow their portfolio. That seems like a lot better marketing strategy to me than having to constantly, get the next client. That just seems exhausting. And another thing about our clients is a lot of them don't even pick like the flooring. They don't pick the paint colors. They don't pick the finishes. It's not that we won't allow them to if they want to, absolutely. But we kind of include it in the package if they want. We'll come in, we'll just use, we have, standard color schemes that we use. We have standard flooring that we use. We were typically buying the same cabinets, the same countertops. Depends on granite. Granite kind of gets a little out there, a little mixed up, I guess. But we're using the same material, same colors over and over. So why reinvent the wheel if you guys, are looking at our projects, you like what Hotop came out to be. Like, from an investment standpoint, this is perfect. We easily could have spent another 20 grand on the kitchen, another 5-10 grand on that bathroom and tiled everything, but it doesn't make sense in this neighborhood. You would have never got that money back out. So, really knowing the neighborhoods, knowing the level of rehab you need to do to meet the end buyer is crucial. Like, you need to understand that stuff if you want to make money, and that's what I think BrickTree makes a great partner for that type of client.